In this tutorial we're going to look at a few ways of troubleshooting and housekeeping your AI server system. This could be particularly helpful if you are loaning your system out a lot, or maybe you're a hire company and providing the system to lots of different users. An optimized and clean system can greatly improve the user experience. So we're going to look at a few things to check and confirm, a quick reinstall of AI, and then finally we're going to round it up with creating a system restore point. So first and foremost, your AI installation. Now it's really good to have a fresh install of AI on the machine. Like any software, AI writes files into its program directory, so over time this becomes a little bit more full and slows the machine down slightly. Now if you just want to have a completely clean install and you don't want to keep anything, you can just simply delete the distrib folder. That won't cause you any problems at all. But there are times where you might want to back up the existing one and then install a new one. So to back up, I'm just going to literally rename that folder. I'm going to call it backup, and it means that all of my project files and the like are still existing there. So now when I run the AI installer, we'll see that it's automatically going to install to a folder called distrib. There we go. So you can see that folder's popped in there now. And I'm just gonna, what I tend to do when I do a clean install, I make sure that my QuickTime install and my USB Expert install are both up to date as well. There's probably no issue with those, but it's just good to know that you're in a good, clean, fresh start position. So this one is almost installed now. Then when this AI section of the installer is complete, it's going to give us the QuickTime installer and the USB Expert installer. There we go, so we can see it's just installing everything that's involved in the software there, all the extra drivers that you can use for the software. Okay, so let me just untick Launch AI, untick the Open README, but I do want to install additional system drivers. So it's going to do both USB Expert and QuickTime. It says a later version of Avilight's USB Expert is already installed. Setup will now exit, so that's okay. We're going to go finish on that one. And on the QuickTime, I like to do the repair just so that I know that everything's in good order. Like so. Obviously, QuickTime is really important to us as we are a QuickTime-based application. Okay, great. So I'm going to tick this program installed correctly. Okay, so we've got a clean install of AI. Now we need to make sure that our new, the shortcut leads to our new install of AI. So I'm just going to delete the existing shortcut, right click and create shortcut with the new version that I've made, and just drag that onto my desktop, like so. Okay, so we've got a fresh version of AI in there. Now it can be useful if you're running an X server, so it's an EX or an RX server, one that has the built-in EDID management. It can be worth checking that all of your outputs are set to a standard that's applicable for your country or region, just so that the user doesn't get any strange surprises. So the quickest way to check is just right click on the desktop, go to screen resolution. So what we're seeing here, we're seeing as I'm running on an RX, I've got 8 outputs, and an RX always has those outputs turned on. So we can see that they're running from 1 to 8, left to right. That's a really good thing. They all look the same size and resolution to me, but if we actually click on them, we'll see here that it's telling us the monitor number, the resolution, and the frequency there. Now these are all set to the same, which is good. Now depending on your region, you may want to select 60 Hz or 50 Hz. That is a regional thing. If you do need to change the Hertz, the frequency of any of these outputs, or indeed the resolution, you can open USB Expert. So I just go to my USB Expert. Now if it's not running already, if you don't see any panels here on the left, you would choose Tools, ACW Service, Start. My one is actually running already here. I can then choose the EDID panel, and then on the right we get some information come up, and if I choose the EDID tab there, what you can do is you can choose a specific output that you want to adjust, then press the upload button. Now if you navigate to your AI install, Programs Avilight's AI distrib. In the system folder there is an EDID management folder. If you go into there and into the EDID pool, and you'll see that we've got as many different resolutions as you may need, all the way up to 1920 1200. And if you go inside one of those, you'll see there are different frequencies: 24 Hz, 25, 30, 50, 60, and so on. So you should find whatever you need in there. So it can always be really good just to make sure that all of the outputs are set to a standard resolution and refresh rate, and that will generally improve system performance as well. Okay, another good one to make sure of is make sure Windows Update is turned off. Obviously we would always recommend not connecting your machine to the internet, because there's a lot of nasty things out there. But just to confirm, if you type Windows Update into the search box, go into the Windows Update section there. Now my computer actually has the updates turned off, but if you go to change settings, on this drop down here you can choose what you want. Now I prefer to have never check for updates. Let's just OK that, and that just means that it's not going to suddenly download any service packs or anything strange on you without you expecting, should you need for some reason to connect to the internet. Power setup. Let's have a quick think about that. So if you again go to the Windows bar, type power, and in power options, and just make sure that you've got high performance selected. This is just going to make sure that all of your graphical power is thrown at the software. It's not just going to sort of trundle along at half power. You're going to get the best out of the machine if high performance is selected. It can be worth going into plan settings and making sure that both turn off display and put the computer to sleep are both put to never as well, because we don't want our monitors going off in the middle of the show. Okay, last tip, and then we're going to do our restore point. So Windows theme. So if you go to the personalize section, so that's right click on your desktop and personalize, there's a couple of useful bits here. The Windows theme. So the Windows theme determines how our windows are presented. Now we would recommend using the Windows 7 Basic. It should come on that one, but if it's not, if you just scroll down to the bottom, you'll see there is an option there for Windows 7 Basic. It basically takes off all the transparency and the crazy effects on the windows, which are of no use to us in live video. So make sure you've got something like that selected. I'd probably also recommend using something like a solid black desktop as well. Most users will prefer that because it means anything that they've got connected to outputs, if they're not showing a signal on the output, they'll get a black signal rather than the standard Windows desktop picture of a goat, whatever you've got on there at the time. Okay, so last but not least, what we're now going to do is we're going to create a restore point. So this means that all of these settings we've created, once the machine has gone away, it's done its show, it's come back, rather than us having to go through all these again, we can just return to that restore point, and then once we've returned to that restore point, we then create our next restore point like we are now. So what we are going to do, we are going to go into the Windows menu again. We're going to type system restore. We're going to go to create a system restore point. There we go. So I can actually see that system restore is already turned on this drive. If you need to, you can go into the configure button and you can turn it on for that particular drive. You can set a size there for the amount of space it's using on your system as well. And now I'm happy with how I am, so I'm going to create a system restore point. So let's just press the create button here. Ready to use. So you can call it anything you want at all. I'm going to call it ready to use, and I'm going to press create. It's going to take a moment. Now this may take longer depending on how used your system is, so I would suggest doing this as close to getting it from us as possible. So that point is now created. And now if I want to return to a restore point, I can either type in create restore point and I can use the system restore button there, or I can just type system restore in the Windows section. It brings us to the same window. Let's get rid of that one. So so it is saying this is the previous restore point there. let's go, or we can go to choose a different restore point. So if I go on to choose a different restore point and we go next, we should see all of the ones that I've got there. So we can see the one I've just made ready to use. There was one I made earlier, pre-loan. And if you want to show all of the restore points that are on your machine, if you just tick the box there, and you should find everything going back in history. Let me just untick that one. So I'm going to go back to my ready to use system restore point, although that's where we are now. I'll just demonstrate how we use it. So once you've selected the restore point, you press next, and it's telling us that it's going to be restored to how it was at that point in time, so and so and so. So if we just press finish, so it's going to ask us whether we really want to do it. So once you start your restore, do not cancel it, let it complete itself. So I'm going to press yes. So now it's just restoring the files to the machine. This might take a moment or so, and it's going to shut the machine down. And before it shuts down, it's going to apply all those differences to roll us back to that point in time. And you'll notice that I had System Restore just set on my system drive, so this means that my media drive remains untouched. So I'm not going to lose any media or anything like that, and if I really want to keep project files, I can stick them on the media drive before doing the system restore. Okay, so we're just starting up again now. We're almost there. Any moment now we should start to see our login screen. Then when the login screen pops up, we can enter the password and jump back into the system. There we go, like so. And it's confirming there our system restore was completed successfully. The system has been restored to the date and time that I made the restore point. Your documents have not been affected. So hopefully that's of use. So it's worth just going through those few quick checks. You can see I've done it in real time there. It's not taking me very long at all. And then after that I've created a system restore point, and really it will greatly improve the user experience of anyone who's using a server, particularly if you're in a hire company or if you're loaning servers out. It puts you in a good position straight from the start.